Okay, my name is Scott Lobenthal. This is our virtual Chalk Talks. This is our third session so far this year. And tonight we have a special guest. We have two Alabama freshmen, Larissa Preuitt and Marlie, is it Giles?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. And I'll give you guys a brief introduction and we'll kind of walk through the process and I'll ask you guys questions and you can just respond. It's pretty laid back. We do have girls hang tough from ages 8 years old all the way up to 23. So quite a few of them are, somewhere between that 14 and 18 age, gap where they're just starting to get into recruiting or they have questions or they're starting to visit different colleges. And, they'll probably have questions about kind of like recruiting and how you made your decision on what college that you wanted to go to and just how the recruiting process worked for you, because it is different for pretty much for everybody. Everyone seems to have a different path. So the reason that we have the Chalk Talks for those that are on that have not been on before, because I know we're starting to open this up more to the public and also the local area schools. The reason that we do this is to provide the girls an opportunity to engage guests that come on that are either current, former, or professional softball players like Sierra Romero and others. It just gives them an opportunity to share their softball experience, their journey. And so that way you can kind of learn from it, even if you are 9U and you aren't even concerned about the recruiting process yet. It's always good to hear about it, kind of know what you're going to be getting into as you're getting older. And the same thing with the girls that are in the thick of it. There's a lot of questions that could really be important to maybe some of their decision making, just getting insight from somebody else that has the experience and has already gone through it. So that's the reason that we do this, throughout the last 2 years. This year we have quite a few guests and we have a really good mix of both current, which both of you are, Marlie and Larissa, current softball players that are at the college at the Alabama University. And then we also, like our last guest was Kamira Washington, and she was a former Texas Tech player. And she is now a successful businesswoman. She's a national travel ball coach. So she's involved in a lot of things now, stepping out of softball, and it talks about how that transition happens and what her new focus is. So, and that's always good to hear about as well. So like I mentioned, we have Larissa and Marlie. And Larissa, just briefly, and I'll let you kind of go into it a little more in depth, but you're an outfielder. You were ranked 4th in your position in state?
In the country.
In the country, 4th in the country. And then 14th in the elite top 100 recruits. And then we have Marlie, who is a catcher and utility player. Were you also 4th in the country in your position?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but I know that this past year I was ranked 10 in the top 100 for the country.
Yep, and I have that too. So yes, and both of those are listed on Alabama's kind of your profile information. And Larissa was the Gatorade Player of the Year in 2022, and it looks like both of you played high school in Alabama. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is really cool. Did you guys know each other before you went to college?
We don't play on the same travel ball team, so we didn't know each other.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess, is there anything else that you would kind of like, explain or talk about yourself in an introduction?
We could talk about how we won PGF.
Sure.
Okay, so the big tournament in California, PGF, like the 18U tournament, we won that this past summer with our travel ball team. So.
Well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what is it? It's a national tournament, right? So
yes, sir. We won the PGF Premier Nationals.
Okay. And how about you, Marlie? Any other items that you'd add to your list here to discuss?
No, sir. That one's pretty top of the list.
All right. So Can you guys both kind of tell us, when you started playing softball? How old you were and
What I played t-ball from the time I was 4 and then just never stopped after that.
Same here, kind of. I started when I was about 3.5, just in league ball. Just kind of worked my way up, and then started in travel ball when I was about 9, and then stayed travel ball. Then just went to high school and travel. Now we're here.
Yeah.
were you both multi-sport athletes in high school?
I played basketball in middle school and I ran track in middle school, but once high school started, I just wanted to focus on softball more.
I played softball, basketball, and volleyball in middle school, but in high school I just played basketball and softball.
Okay. And I know a lot of coaches, they always, preach that they're looking for multi-sport athletes, and it's a positive thing. We support it in our program, and a lot of programs don't even give the girls the choice anymore. They kind of really push that, you need to make a decision. And I respect the kids that want to make that decision and kind of focus, and they know what they want to do. But I like to see all the kids get an opportunity to do as many things as they want to do, especially as they're going through high school. You see too many kids missing, just opportunities socially, because of how much you have to dedicate to the sport. So that's one of the things that we do. So who inspired you guys the most to play softball?
Growing up, somebody I looked up to would probably be Haley McClinney, just because I've always went for Alabama, and I remember going to games and watching her play. And I feel like we have the same type of game, as in we're both quicker players, and I want to be able to lay down a bunt and also hit for power too. And her outfield skills are great.
I think just whenever I was younger, my mom and dad both played. My dad played slow pitch for a long time after he graduated, and my mom, she played college softball. So just growing up, they just kind of put me in the sport, and I was pretty good at it, and so we just kind of stuck with it, and here we are now.
Okay. Well, that's cool that you were able to engage with your family, and that you had somebody to look up to that played in college, and that you look forward to it. I'm sure there's girls that look up to both of you where you're at right now as well. High school accomplishments. So a lot of players that we talk to, they have different experiences. Like when they were in travel, they were either on a fantastic team, they went around the country and were seen, and maybe their high school team wasn't as good. That's one of the things that we tell our girls, because a lot of them are good players and probably the best players at their high schools, but we tell them that it's really important to still be a part of your high school program, to support your high school and play with those teammates that you went to school with through junior high all the way up. What was your experience playing in high school? Was it maybe some of the accolades, kind of what your school got as you were there in the program, and then maybe you as an individual too?
I loved high school ball. I played with some of my 3 of my best friends, so I loved it. I loved my coach and everything, and we were pretty good. We have a pitcher she committed to Auburn recently, but she's a junior this year, and then there's a senior too who's one of my best friends. She's going to play at Sanford next year, so we were pretty good, but I loved every second of it.
I'm kind of the same way. My team, actually, one of the accomplishments we had was we made it to the final 8 at the state tournament. And our team, or our high school, had not made it to the state tournament in 40 years and was definitely not known for softball. And that really put us on the map and showed people that we could compete. And it was a really fun time to be able to play with the girls all the way from 7th all the way to 12th graders. Didn't matter their age. If they could play, they played. And we had a great time.
Would you say the high school experience was a little more laid back than the travel experience? Was it kind of more fun in that regard, or was it pretty serious both in travel and in high school?
I feel like I took high school very seriously. I don't know, every day I got out there and worked as hard as I could, seriously, I wanted to win state the whole year, and I took that very seriously. And I think everybody on our team did too. But it was still really fun, so I didn't take the fun out of it.
Same here. Our high school team took practice very seriously, and we had our moments where we cut up, and then there was also moments where we got in trouble for cutting up too much, and definitely had to dial it back and take it more serious. But we definitely took playing very seriously and practice serious.
It's good. It's really good to hear. I know it kind of depends too on the level of athletes that you have in your program, and how serious they all take it as well. Because sometimes there's a few players that are really gung ho, and then you've got other girls that are there for different reasons. But that's really cool that when you have an entire, a real team atmosphere, and you guys are all competing. How about your travel experience then? Kind of shifting from high school to travel. What teams were you on, and what kind of tournaments did you guys play in? What was your experience there?
I didn't get into like super serious travel ball, I guess, until kind of later. But when I did, I played with the Hot Shots, like Alabama Hot Shots, for a year, and then I ended up playing with the Birmingham Bolts, and I loved it. We went all over the place. We went to just this last summer. I think we went to Colorado, Oklahoma, and then we went to a tournament in PGF, Florida, and I loved it. And I lived close enough to where we have practices in Birmingham, the organization does, and it's like 2 or 3 times a week, and it just made me a whole lot better going to all the practices and stuff. So Coach Rocky is our coach, and he's great. He knows his stuff, and he works us out hard. So
I was kind of the same way. I grew up and started to travel ball a little bit later than most girls, and just played on a local team that my dad put together. Actually, we played together a couple of years, and then I started playing on the Bolts when I was a sophomore, the beginning of sophomore year. So we definitely changed a lot as a player, getting to play with the level of girls that I was and being able to watch those girls and learn a lot more about softball and how to be a good player. And I think definitely I wouldn't be where I am today without going to a different team and playing in that high level softball.
Okay. Yeah, that all sounds similar to what we have our girls and what they're experiencing too. How would you say that travel ball, if you were just to talk about travel ball itself, to somebody that doesn't know anything about it, what would you say was the thing that helped you grow as a player the most? Or what the importance of playing travel is?
well, I feel like all recruiting is kind of through travel ball. So I think that's really important just to softball in general. And I guess if it wasn't for travel ball, like our coach that coached us at the Bolts, he was just like, I couldn't say enough good things about him he just like pays attention to detail so well. And like, he's a great coach, just hard work all the time. And I guess that's the main thing that I got out of it. I got way better.
Same here. The travel ball experience for me was definitely just a completely different world, especially if you're still kind of in league ball. Travel ball is a big step up. It's to where coaches yell at you a lot more, but you also learn a lot more. You get to meet a lot of different people and branch out and let people know who you are. Not even coaches, just people around your community, where you get to see girls that you would have never met if you would have just stayed kind of local. And I think that's something also that I really enjoyed through travel ball.
What's say one of your favorite memories from travel ball? Or something you did that you really enjoyed that you'll remember?
My favorite memory would be winning PGF, but something that I remember was we had one team that we kind of went back and forth with, and we played them in Colorado, and I hit a walk-off grand slam off of them. So I'll always remember that.
Mine's the same. Definitely favorite memory is playing in PGF and winning the championship as a team, especially knowing how hard our whole team worked and how much practice and time we put in together as a team, not just individually, but actually practicing together and getting to know each other. And my probably special moment is in the championship game. I hit a home run, and I think it was a 2-run home run in like the 4th inning, and just coming around the bases and seeing all the girls screaming at me definitely something I'll remember.
Yeah, those are great memories. You always tend to remember those home runs and, big moments when you played sports. Um, so you went from high school and you kind of touched on that travel ball and how all the recruiting really happens, in the travel ball circuit. And that's the way it is here in Michigan, where we're all at. You don't see too many recruits going to high school games anymore. They're actually hitting the big tournaments, or you have the college exposure tournaments or camps. Were there camps and clinics that you guys targeted when you were in high school?
Yes, sir. When I was younger, I went to a good bit of camps, but during our recruiting, like the crunch time, I guess it was all when COVID was going on. So I guess it was a lot different for us than it was for other people. But I feel like camps did like help me a lot through recruiting though.
I'm the same way also. I started going to camps when I was probably in 7th grade, just more local camps and then colleges that I was interested in. And it also does a lot more for you, just kind of seeing what the college, how they like run things, how they talk about hitting. You get to learn if they're more of a small ball school, if they're more of like hit home run school. You really get to engage yourself with the college itself and get to know if you like it.
Helps you understand if you're a good fit or not with that college. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Were there things that you noticed like at these camps, like maybe, what were the differences between the players that you think were more recognized than the players that were not? Was it, like body language? What kind of things did you see as both players and now that you're in college that are important, to have in your dugout, to have on your team? How you carry yourself, your conduct, that kind of thing, but also kind of, how you handle failure as well as success, those types of things.
I would say body language is a huge thing. And that's something that they talk about here at Alabama too. But something else would probably be just the way that you handle failure and just your attitude towards things, like having a positive attitude or a negative attitude, and looking at failure really as an opportunity to get better. Because if you're not pushing yourself to your breaking point, to failure, you're not really pushing yourself hard enough to get better. And I think that that's definitely something that schools will look for at camps. Like, are you getting frustrated when you're failing? Are you going at it hard and keeping on trying?
I agree with what Riss said, but on the kids side, like looking up to the girls who are like working the camps, I think especially when I was younger, coming to some Alabama camps, you wouldn't have known who started and who sat the bench if you just walked into one of our camps. The way that they teach us here is it's all Mudita. We're all supporting each other. And I think that's a big part of the program here. And I think that's a big thing, especially like if a kid comes to one of our camps, I don't want them to look at me and think that I think a different way because of how I'm acting or how I look. And I want them to have the best time, and it's all about them. And I think that that's a big deal about for the colleges everywhere, like what they look like, how they carry themselves during camps and whenever people are watching them.
Yeah, that's great. So you talked about the camps. So let's kind of run through what each of your recruiting experience was like. How much you were engaged in it, maybe a couple places that you visited, and then how you came to your decision on where you guys wanted to go.
Okay, well, like I said before, COVID was kind of during ours, so we didn't get to go on any visits or anything. And it was different because while we were getting recruited, coaches couldn't even come out and watch us play. So it was all on, like our dads would get the video camera and like live stream our games, and coaches would watch. But I grew up an Alabama fan, so this has always been kind of like my dream school. So it was a no-brainer for me just to pick here. But also when I got to talking to the coaches and stuff, just it's so different here about how all of our coaches just care. You can tell how much they care about us individually as people. And we do this thing called person over athlete. So it's like all of our coaches and all of our teammates and stuff care about us more as a person over an athlete. Like the stuff that we do on the field doesn't define us, and it doesn't make us a better or worse person, which I just fell in love with. And I fell in love with all the coaches here, and you can tell the type of girls that they recruit. It's just a big happy family.
I think the same thing here. It's definitely a big part here about who you are as a person, and that's something I love about it here. And my recruiting process was very the same. Coaches had to watch it on video cam if they wanted to see us. Because of COVID, they weren't allowed to come. And one thing that we did do was like virtual tours and lots of phone calls, FaceTimes, really trying to get to know the coaches. And I think that the coaches that really, really tried to let you know that they were trying to get you to come here, or like if they called you a lot, video chatted you, texted you, it just really made you feel more special because they wanted to take the time to show you through their campus, even on the computer, whenever you're at home. But it still meant a lot, and really appreciated it. And that's probably honestly one of the reasons I chose here, along with it being my dream school since I was born and raised in Alabama.
And another thing about Alabama that I was telling my parents about too when I was going through the recruiting process was a bunch of the other schools were just asking me softball questions, but Alabama really didn't even ask me that many softball questions. It was more like who I am as a person, and they were trying to get to know me and my character. So that really stood out to me.
Much more personable. Taking
Yes,
that
sir.
approach.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've met your coach before. Met him at the NFCA conference last year. He spoke in Chicago, and he talked with a group of our coaches. I think there were like 4 or 5 of us. And, I would say that we weren't Alabama fans when we went in, but after we left, we were. We really liked his personality, and he kind of talked about some of the team building things and his priorities, coaching in the program. Which was unique, and he obviously has a really good I don't know, aura or character about him that I think he kind of brings in the right people, based on who he attracts with how he talks about the program, softball, and just his passion for it. So I'm sure you'll have a couple people on here that'll ask some questions at the end that met Pat Murphy, and I know he's been there since 1998. So, it's really cool to see how a coach helps define a program over time and build it. So, and it's good to hear that they're asking those types of questions, because even on a travel sports level, those are some of the things that we try to do at Hang Tough too, is ask the girls, we tell them that we care about them more as people than athletes. Your family comes first. Try to reinforce that, mental health awareness, because it's different since COVID even, but obviously those stresses and concerns as both high school athletes and college athletes, you kind of feel isolated. And even after the girls leave college, we hear about struggles with some of the girls that we know that are now transitioning out, and they don't have that sport that they had every single day. So now they're trying to refocus and look at something else to, pour their passion into. But yeah, Pat was very memorable, and looking forward to seeing him again here at one of the upcoming conferences. So we touched on the camps, we touched on the recruiting, the decision making. It sounds like it was you guys, had a really good option, and it was a no-brainer on where to go, which, for Alabama, and it's a great program. Maybe talk about the transition from high school to college. Was there anything going from high school and travel ball to college that kind of, what did you expect? And then maybe something that you guys didn't expect once you got there.
Honestly, I thought the transition was way easier than I thought it was going to be, because I always heard people talk about how challenging it is. And I think that playing for the travel ball team that we did play for, and having the practices that we had, and being held to the level that we were held at, I guess, or the standard, made it way easier just to transition into college. But even like school wise, like I thought it was going to be, I was prepared for the worst, I guess. So the transition was easier. But one thing would be probably like time management and making time like to do things for you every day would be like one thing that I didn't really expect that I was gonna need to work on, just to make time to like sit down and like have a second out of my day.
Mine's a little bit different than Rissa's, but basically the same. Going through travel ball with the team that we played on, and our coach, his name was Rocky Thompson. I don't know if we said his name earlier, but he ran his practices and he wanted us to be prepared for college while we were with him. That was his main focus. He would tell you straight up, your first day, my job is to get you ready for college. So he truly did. I mean, we were so prepared for college just based off the way he ran his practices, the way that he held us to standards. You get to practice an hour before, you put everything where it's supposed to go, you get all the equipment out, like just putting it this. And it really helped because like now it's like we get here and they're like, oh, y'all like kind of know what's going on, even though we've never like been here, and we kind of know what to expect a little bit. So it definitely helps so much. But if I wouldn't have had that experience with like travel ball and playing on that team, I would probably be completely lost, honestly, because my high school was not really ran as strict as Coach Rocky and as they run it here. And I'm really grateful to have that in me to be able to know what's going on. But yeah.
One thing I will say about the transition to college too is just that something that was really good about it was just that I feel like I'm surrounded by people who get me and get like the passion that I have towards my sport, when really kind of like in high school and stuff, I didn't feel like I was surrounded with people who like understood my mindset about softball. And like I have people now who want to, work out and hit every day. And it's just like, it's good to be surrounded by people who, it's refreshing to be surrounded by people who have the same mindset as you.
Yeah, same priorities.
And goals. Yeah.
So time management is something that I consistent, with anybody that's going to college. Either it's a huge slap in the face or and plus, you guys are carrying such a huge workload, not only, just the school work, but you guys probably have lifting and how many practices. So how much time do you think in a week that you're kind of putting into softball?
Okay, we have during the beginning of the week or beginning of the year, we had like 8-hour weeks, but then when our fall ball season kind of started up, you start 20-hour weeks. And then after fall ball, we started 8-hour weeks again, but we were really putting more time into that too. Cause like during 8-hour weeks, we'll go and hit and like on our own, but especially the coaches can only have that much time with you. But like right now it's like dead week. So we're not allowed to have
weights
any
practice.
Yeah, like team weights or team practice, but we still like go on our own and work out and hit too. So
during the off season, it's whenever it's 8-hour weeks, we do 6 hours in the weight room or 5 hours in the weight room and 3 hours on the field. So most of the times we'll either be in the weight room 4 times a week for an hour and 15 minutes, or we'll be in there five days a week for an hour. It just really just depends sometimes. But then during 20-hour weeks, I think we go down to 5 hours in the weight room and the rest are all softball. And we'll do 2 days for an hour and a half in the mornings. Normally we do about 6:15, 6:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. It just really depends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's basically a full-time job. That's what
Yes,
it's like.
It's a good job to have though.
Yes.
Yeah. And this is just your first semester, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, and then what kind of, you guys basically just taking your general eds right now, or what are your focuses for school? What kind of major do both of you want to go into?
I'm a kinesiology major, so I want to end up doing physical therapy. But Marlie, you're majoring in
my major is actually biology, and I want to go to PA school after softball and after I get my undergraduate. And I took a couple of college classes in high school, so I'm a little bit ahead right now, and really just getting through mainly some of the electives that we have to take, because we're like a liberal arts school. So we have like a couple of like other classes that you have to take with your like major, even though it might not have nothing to do with your major, just so you have a little bit of everything, which will help you in the long run.
But we're both in all of the same classes right now. So that's kind of rare, but that was super nice because She
Yeah.
always has to remind me to study for tests and to do my homework.
Yeah.
But our main class that we're in right now is biology. So
So how was the workload with school like in the fall? Were you guys, did you travel much in the fall, or was it basically a lot of home games?
no, we only traveled to one and the rest were home games. So
We traveled to Albertville to play Jacksonville State. One of our first game
our
of the
first
season.
game.
Awesome.
But workload wise, it was way easier than I was expecting it to be. But also our first semester, we're required to get 8 hours of study hall in a week. So we were in there enough time to have, or enough to do all of our
Study.
work and study as much as we could.
That's good. Yeah, I would imagine that. So the team, do they talk about like tutors and things like that when you guys come here to the winter and you guys do end up traveling in the spring? Because I imagine that's going to be pretty intense. You're going to have a lot of travel and then your school work, and they talk about how you're going to be able to manage that.
Well, we have tutoring anytime we want it. We can just ask and then we just go to a building and have tutoring. But I'm pretty sure they said something about a couple of tutors travel with us during the spring. So, but I'm sure we'll have a bunch of tutoring hours when we're here too.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll provide all the help that you guys are going to need and the support. So that's really cool.
Yes, they do.
How are the seniors or the upperclassmen? I always hear that the freshmen when they come in, and the upperclassmen have a whole different maybe set of standards or whatnot. But it sounds like you guys all get along pretty well.
Yeah, they're awesome. Right when we got here, they just did a great job. Like every one of them did a great job of just including us and just making it where they really did want to know about our personal lives, and they wanted to get to know us for who we are, and they do have a standard and they stick to it, and I respect them for that, and I love every one of them.
Definitely same here. One thing that Murph did whenever we first got here, we have actually four seniors and 4 freshmen. So he paired each freshman with a senior so we could really get some one-on-one time and get to know some upperclassmen. But I mean, even without that, they've done such a good job of trying to get to know us. They've asked us to go eat, come over to their house, really get to know them on game days, go to their house, watch the game. I mean, we hang out almost every weekend with just the whole team, most of us. And I mean, it's just such a family atmosphere here. And our team, I think, has really just bonded so well, especially with how many new girls we had coming in, transferring in freshmen. I mean, it's like we've just been here the whole time, honestly.
And they're all great leaders. Like some of the things that they've already just taught me just from being around them is stuff that I wish I would have known in high school. Like I wish I would have known this like way sooner, just all the little stuff that they do so right, just to make us all feel included, and they make everybody feel valued.
It's good. It's really good. I know Pat talked about, watching some Netflix shows together as a team, and he even played a couple little segments for us from some of the shows that they watched, and just talked about, life lessons and the importance of working with the community in Alabama, that you guys are not isolated or on an island. So, I mean, all of those things were really great. So give me one, I know you guys are both freshmen and you're new, but what's your best memory so far with Pat as a coach, or like the thing that he did, or it's maybe something that's funny or whatnot so far?
A couple of weeks ago, he used like our softball time, like for us to hit, we have a classroom, and he had us all sit down and he showed us a video, and he had us write letters of gratitude to a person that we cared about who has influenced our life in a certain way. And so everybody on the team wrote their letter of gratitude to their person. And he had some people come up and call their person that they wrote their letter to and read it to them. And that's just something that just says so much about him, that, I mean, he's taken time out of our time to practice softball, like our limited time, to help grow us as people, which just says a lot about him. But it also helps grow us closer to the team and make us better people too.
Yeah, that was definitely an experience that I'll remember for a very long time. I actually had the opportunity, he picked me read the letter that I wrote it to my travel ball coach, actually, Rocky Thompson. And I had a chance to read it to him in front of the team. Little bit stressful, but I made it through. But also, the one thing I will always remember is he actually took the whole team to a retreat for the weekend. And one of the first things that we did was we went to a little Piggly Wiggly and bought the groceries for the weekend. We reached into teams, and each team had a different meal to get. And one of the there was a man outside who had came in, and he had seen that we'd gone over our limit, and he decided to pay for our food for us. And it was he did not have to do that. Like, it was completely unnecessary, and so it was so generous of him. And actually afterwards, the whole team came outside, and Murph like talked to him and like gave him a couple of hats, and we all prayed together as a team and as a group, and it was really, really special moment that I'll remember for a very long time.
No, that's really cool. So thank you for sharing that experience with us. That's really neat. So how about I guess you kind of touched on it, future plans beyond softball and what you guys are studying and hoping to be. Either one of you have plans to keep playing softball, like after college, or
I don't know yet. I guess
see where
we'll
it
see. Yeah, just see.
Yep, that sounds cool. All right. I typically will open it for questions, and our crowd is usually pretty quiet. But I'm sure a couple of the coaches will have questions, and then I've got some canned questions as well that I'll ask if it gets a little too quiet. So
Okay. Yes, sir.
all right. And you guys are both really respectful. You guys present yourselves really well. So that's great. Congratulations to both of you. I think you guys are well on your way. So
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
all right, guys. Any questions from the crowd? Coaches, Ricky, Chris?
I'll kick it off. So first off, thank you guys for taking the time to meet with us. I think it's awesome, and I would echo what Scott said. I really appreciate how just respectful you guys are, and just hearing your story. We, like Scott said, we did have the opportunity to meet Murph back in January of last year, and I was definitely not an Alabama fan. Actually, probably the farthest thing from it, but he far and away stole the weekend, and I really appreciated his message, and we got an opportunity to talk to him, probably about 5 of us, for close to an hour, and I walked away from that definitely an Alabama softball fan. So it's nice to hear that everything he talked about and spoke to on stage was not just lip service, but actually things that he, truly does put into action. And it's obviously made an impact on you guys, because you've spoken to some of those things as we've talked. And like, my question for you guys would be, he really, like, one of his sessions, the entire thing was on Mudita, like the way you guys really bond as a team, and really just being that family. So you touched on it a little bit, but was there any, like, maybe 1 or 2 things that really stuck out to you guys as you came in as freshmen that really helped you kind of bond with the team or really make you feel welcome? I mean, obviously we kind of experience the same thing with travel. You keep maybe your core group of girls, but you'll get a few new players here and there. So was there anything that really stuck out that really made you feel like, wow, like that was really awesome and impactful? It really helped me feel like welcome to Alabama and really a part of the team.
I guess it's just, for me, it's just like the whole field, the team, everybody, you can tell that everybody is pulling for everybody, and all the girls want you to succeed just as much as they want themselves to succeed. And something really big with the team is just like, you can see it just when we play our fall games and stuff. Just if one girl gets a hit, the dugout's going crazy for her, or if somebody does something good, the dugout is going just insane. And I feel like the girls here are more happy to watch their teammate do something awesome than they would be even if they just did it.
I feel the exact same way. We had one young lady, she had not had a hit for the season yet, and she had hit some really good balls just right at people, right at people, right at people. And I think it was one of the last couple last games of the season. And we were all on the fence cheering for her, I remember. And we were like, this is it. This is it. She's getting her hit right here. And she sure enough got like a double off the wall, and the entire dugout was going absolutely crazy. And I mean, it's just awesome to see. I mean, I don't think there's a single selfish person on our roster. I mean, it doesn't matter who's hitting, where everybody's cheering for them. And I mean, this is just something that I've noticed. It's like anytime we come in and like you're hitting in the cages just trying to get some extra reps, it's just like somebody will just come up to you and just stand with you in the cage just because they don't want you to hit by yourselves. I mean, really, it's just everybody puts themselves first here. And I actually wear a bracelet that Ashley Prangy gave me on like the second day, and it says I am second. And I think it's really a Mudita thing, because I mean, you put others before yourself, and everything is about the people around you. And I really just love it here and love that saying and love what we stand for.
And I have one more story, which Montana Fouts, she's a great leader for our team, but also just watching her in the dugout and not even just looking for it, but you can just tell that even when another pitcher's pitching in a game, or if they're doing bullpens or something, she's like on the fence. Like, it's like she would be out there pitching, like she's cheering for the girl, and she like helps give them advice through it. But that's just something I noticed too.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions out there?
Is there a question?
Yeah. So this is from Lola, and I'll bring this up down here in the bottom if I can get my. There we go. Well, let's see here. How did you guys feel about dropping the other sports? How did you feel about dropping the other sports that you played when you were in high school?
Well, I played basketball just in middle school, and then I got to high school, and honestly, I just knew that softball was something that I wanted to do, and it was just always the thing that I knew I wanted to pursue. And I knew that I should be practicing basketball sometimes, but when I was practicing basketball, I feel like I should be practicing softball, and I felt like it was kind of taking my time away from that. So, and I did miss it once I stopped playing it, but I knew that softball's always where my future was.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of the same, a little bit different. I played basketball all throughout high school, and for me, basketball was just kind of have fun. I took it very serious, but I mean, I only did it because I thought it was just fun. But it did definitely take away from me in the fall, just like through travel ball, because I would be practicing basketball during that time, and I wouldn't be hitting as much as I was supposed to, like Riss was talking about. And I think definitely now. It's helping because I'm not having another sport, and so really just being able to focus on softball fully is like really helped me. But definitely I will miss basketball, but I did not love basketball. I just liked it. So I mean, it's okay that it's that I'm done with it.
And actually, our other roommate, she played basketball, and she was great. She was basketball player of the year Gatorade player of the year for
Basketball.
North Dakota, yeah, in basketball, and she was also Miss Basketball in North Dakota, so she did it all. Yeah.
So that's when you guys kind of knew what your number one sport was, basically when you got into high school, kind of.
And it was always my dream, kind of growing up, to play softball somewhere, even in like elementary school. So.
Okay. The other question she has is, what's your favorite hitting drill?
At the moment, probably one where you just put all your weight on your back foot and keep your front foot up.
That's mine.
And and just working on landing softly and staying loaded in your back hip and staying through the ball.
Yeah, I was gonna say mine was the same, because sometimes I have a habit of like going at the ball and not keeping my weight back. So I'll start with my front foot up, like on tee drills, and then we also do it front toss too. So it helps a lot.
You guys talk about and work on extension in practices too with hitting?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
We do that a good bit.
Murph whenever he's pitching to us or whenever we're hitting, he's really big on, he says, don't hook the ball and don't pull it. So if you slice it, it's going to hook and go this way, or if you pull it, it's going to hook this way. He always says when it lands, it should always roll straight back. It shouldn't roll left or right. And that's the easy way that you can tell if you're pulling it a little bit or if you're slicing a little bit, is just if you just watch it whenever it lands.
Yeah, one of our coaches in our program, he says it all the time, anybody can pull the ball. So look at what you're doing and try to, react. And we do a lot of those visualize with like the, full cage, hitting, can you hit to the back, line drives, and how many can you hit to the back in a row, or just so that way you're kind of gauging it, being able to adjust. Any other questions from the crowd? Ricky, are you at basketball practice? Ricky's our VP.
Sorry, it's a little loud.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you guys for taking the time out. I'm sorry, I'm pulling double duty here. So I coach basketball, and obviously, it's basketball season. So,
Yep.
I don't have any questions. I was gonna ask the same thing as Lola. So for my daughter, she likes to play basketball and she loves softball. I can't get her to step away from either or. It's kind of like one of those. Here, let me step up. So I was going to ask pretty much similar as I love your guys' story, and kind of when do you think it's a good time to separate from most sports or multiple sports?
I mean, I guess just at the college level, like you can play 2 sports all throughout high school, I think.
I think same here. For me, whenever I was in middle school playing volleyball, it really took up my summers and took up times where I would be traveling or be practicing. So I knew going into high school that I probably should drop that one. So I did drop that one. But just in high school, just balancing basketball and softball, it was a little bit easier just because it's not on such a high scale. But I mean, I've definitely heard of people who played 2 different sports in college, and it's definitely doable, but it's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication towards both sports. And another thing is they definitely can't be in the same season. I wouldn't guess.
No,
They can't be in the same season. But I mean, hey, if she loves both of them and she wants to try to play basketball and softball in college, I'd say tell her to go for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've had this conversation a couple nights ago, and like right now she's playing basketball, still getting the work in for softball when she's at home. But I'm strict. I don't allow B's in my house, so it's very hard to stick with school and getting straight A's and doing multiple sports at the same time. So, but thank you guys so much for taking the time. You guys are awesome, and good luck next season or this season.
Let me see. Hey, Darius, can you hear me, Darius? I'm just going to start calling on people.
Well, I don't know if you saw Lola had another question.
Oh, yep. We can definitely touch on that too. Darius is a big Alabama fan. He's from Alabama, and he was with us.
That's from Alabama, actually. Yep.
And we met Pat.
There.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Do you have any questions, Darius?
Go ahead and start with Lola. Go ahead and start with Lola's question, and then come back to me.
Okay. The question is, as a catcher, how important is your relationship with your pitcher?
As a catcher, it's extremely important. I think that the catcher is just like the unseen person definitely that goes on in the field. And I think that a good relationship with your pitcher can determine honestly how she pitches. I mean, for me, I'm a very verbal catcher. So if I'm catching, I like to communicate back to my pitcher, like always talking her up, good pitch, you got it, like keeping her focus on the next pitch, not letting herself think about too much of the pitch before it. And I think that if you don't have a good relationship with her, you're not going to be able to feel confident in talking to her about that kind of stuff. Maybe you might be afraid she might get mad at you for saying one thing or the other. And I think having a good relationship with her is a big key factor in that.
You ever pitched, Larissa?
In rec ball a little bit. In all-star, my dad was the coach. I
Yeah,
wasn't bad, but
yeah. I can see you pitching. You look like you probably threw a couple innings here and there.
oh yeah.
Um,
Hey, I used to be good, but I got not good pretty quick.
it takes a lot of time. Those
Oh, yeah,
pitchers and
sure.
catchers as well. Peyton here, she asked, she's one of our catchers, but she's also currently going through the recruiting process. She's on my 18U team. She did verbally commit to a college here in Michigan. I think it was just last week. Her question was, did you ever feel like you needed to put your education on hold to play at your dream school? Like say if they didn't have your major, or I know sometimes, like especially with a nursing program and things like that, there's just so many requirements. Sometimes the colleges will tell you that if you're playing softball, we can't, you can't be, on the team if you're in that major.
Yes, sir. Honestly, I haven't met very many people who, especially in undergrad, so just your first 4 years, who haven't been able to do a major just because of softball. Now, say you want to go to do like schooling after your undergrad. So say like I want to go to PA school. There's absolutely no way I would be able to play softball and do that. And we have actually a couple of girls here, 50 years, that are going to medical school after this, and they wouldn't be able to do it either, just because, it would take up so much time. But I think deciding where you're going to go for college while you're in high school, I think that you shouldn't put softball before your education. I think that your education should come first. And for me, I think I could have like a different majors, like major in different things and still be able to apply to the PA program. So that was good for me. And I think they just had your major, didn't they?
They had one.
They had her major. But I think definitely education is a really big deal. And at the end of the day, softball is just 4 years, and your life is the rest of your life. So I think that education is very, very important.
I agree with what you said just about all that. But we also have a freshman athlete class here, and somebody came and talked to us, and I remember him saying that school is always going to be there, and if you have a dream, then to go chase it. Is what he told us.
That is true.
And he said you can always come back to school, and school is always going to be there, but your time to live out your dreams is not always going to be there. And if you have opportunity, just to take it.
Yeah, two different perspectives there. I like that. All right, Darius, you're up.
All right, I'm up. Thanks again for joining us and sharing your stories. Question for you. We always tell our girls that it takes more time than just the practice time that we have, which is only like once or twice a week. How much work did you do on your own, and what are some of the things you did on your own?
Okay, yeah, for me, I feel like for me to be the best that I can be, like I need to hit every day and I need to work out every day, other than like one if I'm too sore, really. So I just try to hold myself to that standard, and I don't let myself slip. Like there's some days that I don't feel like getting up and going to work out, and I still do. And I think that pays off for me. And there's some days I'm like, oh, I'm sore, I don't want to go hit, but I always do make myself go hit. And when I get there, I enjoy it and it's fun for me. And I think it's just holding yourself to that standard and not letting yourself slip once you get there.
I agree with what she said, but I think that most girls, especially before college, don't really put in as much time as they do whenever they get here, especially for me. I know I would hit probably 3-4 times a week in high school and during the summer before I got here. But once you get here and you see the competition, especially like team, like who you're going to have to play like beat in practice. Basically, it makes you just work 10 times harder. I mean, Riss, what did we hit every day this week?
Yeah.
Hit every day this week.
Every day
I
last
mean,
week.
we
Did
woke up
accelerate.
before class. I mean, we didn't have to, went and worked out, went and ran, didn't want to run. I was sore from the day before.
No.
But I mean, especially it helped me because my roommates helped push me to be better and to work out more and just want to continue to get better. So again, what Riss was talking about earlier, the accountability part. I think it's just a lot helpful. And I think that it's definitely a lot of work that a lot of people don't see, but I think it'll help you in the long run.
And something that I think about too, and I thought about this my senior year of high school too, but especially now, like I only have 4 more years playing the sport that I've been playing since I was 4 years old. And it's like such a short time. And I know that it will go by so fast. And like I want to work my butt off every single day. And so I can look back and have no regrets and know that I gave all of myself to what I was doing. And there's no days that I like slacked off, that just to like peace of mind to know that I did everything that I could do just to be my best self.
Oh, that's great. The girls need to hear that too. But yeah, like Darius is saying, that that's something that we reiterate in our practices, that you're not going to just come to practice, 1 or 2 days a week, and then, you're going to make some kind of drastic improvement. You got to put in work, and we talk about the accountability thing. Some of our teams are starting to use the blast sensors now for the bats, just so we can, give them kind of an assignment that you got to get so many swings in a week. And again, it's accountability. The girls can compete with one another. We do have girls that are getting hitting lessons and pitching lessons and everything else on top of what they're doing for their practice schedules. But it's good to hear, like what your workload is and your work ethic. I think it's important for any of the girls at the different ages to kind of understand that. But that level of expectation to play at that level.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the crowd? I've got one more, if there's not another question. Okay.
I have another one actually.
Okay, go ahead.
So is there any advice you would, looking back, give, say, your 12 or 14-year-old self, maybe something that you know now that maybe you wish you knew then, kind of as you're going through, and whether it's softball related or just, something in your potential career path or life in general, anything looking back, a piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
Do you know yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Something I would definitely tell my younger self is that sometimes you're going to do great and sometimes you're not. And we go through slumps. Everybody does. And you've always just got to keep looking, keep working till you get to the other side. And you're never going to get there if you just quit and give up and kind of lose hope in yourself. And I know sometimes it can be really hard, especially when you're in those bad slumps, because I know we've all been there. I have definitely. That there is another side, and if you just keep working and keep working, I mean, you're gonna get there. Just stay, trust the process, because I mean, our game is a game of failure, and I think that's something that it took me a long time to realize, and sometimes I still have a hard time accepting it because I just want to be perfect all the time. But it's definitely always stay with it, even if you're struggling.
Something that I would tell younger me would probably just be that everything will work itself out. By nature, I worry a whole lot. And sometimes I have anxiety just about like, I know like with recruiting, I had so much just like, well, I want to go somewhere. What if this, what if that? And even just like starting high school ball as a freshman, I kind of struggled with just like, I wanted to be on varsity and I like kind of struggled through that just because I was working so hard and I was like worried about that, but I would just tell myself that everything will work out the way it's supposed to be and just trust that God has a plan and to not be anxious through it and just to keep on working hard and everything will turn out the way it's supposed to.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
He's trying to steal my questions. This is like a question that we ask a lot of the guests. So, and it's great to hear. So my question for you, what's a Pat Murphy practice like? What kind of things do you guys, hear over and over again from the coaches, or what focus? Is it more, defensive focus, or is it more offensive, or base running, or is it a pretty balanced approach? Just kind of, what's the style?
I feel like it's pretty balanced, but when we do have our 8-hour weeks and we have individuals, I feel like we do have more hitting individuals than we do defensively. What would you say about our normal like team practice?
So a typical day if we're in team practice, full what's it called, in season, full in season. Normally we stretch. We have our strength coach. He comes before practice and we do a good dynamic stretch, get everything good and loose, and then we'll throw, and then we'll normally do defense for about 30 minutes to an hour. And normally you just start off with a couple of drills, just depending on your position. Like the catchers go together, the outfield goes together, and the infield does. And then after about an hour to 30, 35, 40 minutes, really just depends on the day, we'll start hitting, and we'll go in and warm up hitting in the cages for about 15 minutes. And then we'll come out on the field, and sometimes he'll just do stations. And so we'll have like a hitting station, a base running station, a shagging station, and a cage station. And we'll just kind of rotate. So you get in just about everything. And I think the shagging especially is good work for our outfielders, because the way that we do it is if you play outfield, you play your position, and the others just kind of get out of the way, basically. So you can work on like taking live balls and really working on your footwork and things like that. And same thing for your base runners. They get to work on watching live balls, where to go. And I think the coaches do a good job of paying attention to all three. And so if you are on the bases and you start slacking off, they're going to be like, hey, what are you doing? Do it right. And so you do it right. But normally that's only if you just forget something and mess it up. Not on purpose, but we all make mistakes. So
Yeah.
That's great. Well, again, I just want to express, my gratitude. Thank you for coming on and volunteering your time to do this. We really appreciate both you, Larissa and Marlie, for taking this time. You can't imagine each year, the first year I did this, I probably would ask, maybe I'd get 1 or 2 people out of every 30 that I would ask to do this. And then this year it started happening where we started having people requesting to come on and talk to the girls this year, which is great. But, finding student athletes that'll make the time, we do really appreciate it. And hearing these things, it's one thing for, like when you've been in that spot, it's one thing to hear it from a coach, but to hear it from somebody that's actually playing in college or has been, in that, position and travel and has gone through the recruiting process, it's really important to hear from that perspective. It gives a lot more credibility to what you guys are saying.
yes, sir.
So, all right. Well, that's the end of our segment. But I just wanted to say, thank you again, and have a good night. And
Yes,
good
sir.
luck.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
us.
this
thank
season.
you. I love talking to y'all. Thank you for asking me.
Yep, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
Thank you,
Have a-
ladies. Good luck this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
both.
you, ladies.
You're welcome.